Today we're going to be repackaging a 25-pound bag of popcorn kernels. Now, I've never bought a bag this large before. Normally I buy a 5-pound bag from Azure Standard, but I figured this time we are going to try to preserve it a little bit longer. Now, from what I've read, popcorn is really not the greatest thing to do long-term storage with. It has a shelf life about 6 months. So we have a lot of popcorn to eat in our future, and that's okay. One of the reasons it doesn't store a very long time is because of its higher fat content. So as we know, things with a higher fat content are not the greatest long-term dry storage. Another reason is it needs to maintain a certain moisture content. If it gets too low, it will not pop. The moisture inside of the kernel is what causes the kernel to expand and to pop into what we know as popcorn. So it's a little bit more difficult to keep popcorn on your shelf a long time. I know I've had it in the past where I've gone to pop older popcorn and it ends up being mostly kernels. So I am going to store it today in Mylar bags. From what I was reading, the best thing to do is either Mylar or just regular airtight containers, like a mason jar with a lid, or if you have a plastic container that has an airtight lid, that's also great. You do not want to use oxygen absorbers because if it removes the oxygen from that environment, and with it being a higher moisture item, it can cause botulism to grow. Botulism thrives in damp conditions where there is no oxygen. So just to be on the safe side, I'm not going to use an oxygen absorber, and I am going to store them in Mylar. I'm out of half-gallon mason jars. I water glassed so many eggs this spring that I'm out of jars. So to save space and time, I'm going to fill up Mylar bags and I'm going to store them down in our cold room. So I'm going to try and see what 4 quarts looks like in one of these gallon Mylar bags and see how that works. That is 4 quarts. It's one level, it's about up to here. So I would say that's probably a good amount to have in a bag here. I am going to push out as much air as I can. I'm losing a couple kernels here. I have my helper here picking up any of the kernels that I've dropped before the dog eats them. I did also read that it's best to not vacuum seal them, like with a food saver, just because that does remove quite a bit of oxygen from the packaging, and that's where you can run the risk of creating that ideal environment for botulism to grow. So I do have a food saver, and originally that's how I was going to package these, but then after reading about it, I figured this is going to be the best and easiest method. So now I will put a sticker on here and I will say what it is, how much is in here, and the date I packaged it on, and when it's best to be used by. I did see that it can be stored for 3 to 4 years if kept in an airtight package. I might even, on a few of these, depending on how many bags this fills up, I might get out my sealer and really make sure that they're sealed shut and that there's no oxygen getting in through the zipper on top here. These are Wallaby goods. Is it Wallaby Goods? No, it's just Wallaby. Food Storage Solutions. I've been getting their bags for a few years now, and I'm very, very happy with them. I especially like the ones that have this gusseted, I guess, is that a gusseted bottom? Where you're able to stand them up and fill them. It makes it much easier. I've also gotten ones that do not have this bottom on them. And while they're okay and they work just fine, this is very convenient to be able to stand it up while you fill it. I also read that in warmer climates, like our southern states, it is a good idea to store your popcorn for long term in your freezer. That heat can cause the fat to break down faster, which we do not want. I have gotten some of the less expensive Mylar bags off of Amazon before, and under closer inspection, if you hold them up to light and you look inside, I could see tiny little pinhole size amounts of light coming through in multiple spots. Some were on the seams, some were just on the very bottom of the bag. And if you have ever done any long-term storage before, you know that light is your enemy. So if light is getting through, I don't trust that that material is air proof also. It's not leaking if nothing's getting into it. So I went back to these bags because that little bit more of a price is definitely worth not losing all of the food that you're putting into long-term storage that you're relying on having. From that 25 pounds of popcorn kernels, I have 4 bags. 3 have 4 quarts in them, and 1 has 2.5 quarts. I'm gonna go ahead and label these, and I think I'm going to get my sealer out and seal up a few of these bags. Now this tool is not necessary. If you want to start storing things in Mylar, you do not need one of these. This is just something that I acquired for free, so I use it because I have it. For many years, I used my regular iron and sealed up the top of the bags. A lot of people will use flat irons for their hair to seal up the top of the bags. Really, it's a use what you have kind of situation. So I'm not super worried if this is not, yeah, it's sealed now. Just had to do it a few times. I am not super worried if this wasn't heat sealing because, like I said, we're going to be using it, and as long as it's airtight, that's all that matters. And this zipper on here does keep air out very, very well. But as you can see, I just wrote yellow popcorn, the date, used by, and how much was in the packaging. It's very important that when you use Mylar, you do label it, because as you can see, you cannot see. So you don't know what's in it, that's a problem. And you don't want to feel around and have to guess what's in it, because it's not always very reliable. This, I did read, will last possibly 3 to 4 years, but it's very uncertain. You don't know exactly how much moisture is in there, so the sooner you use it, the better. So this is our 25 pounds of popcorn. It will give us the best chance at storing it for as long as we can. If you have any questions about Azure or about the bags, I will leave links down in the comments and in the description. So if you want to check out any of those products, you'll have a link. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.